Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Ultra in Conversation. And today I am conversing with the doyen of Yorkshire, Stef. Hello, Stef, and a warm welcome to you.
Hey up, HG Tudor. Thank you so much for inviting and having me on. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I love it how you describe me as the doyen of Yorkshire. Never heard that
Why
one before.
not? Well, why not? I think that's entirely appropriate. You wear your Yorkshireness on your sleeve, and as a consequence of that, and we'll be getting into a bit of Yorkshire later on. So absolutely. Just to give you a taste of Yorkshire pudding there. Now, first of all, tell me about the name, Stef the Alter Nerd. What's behind that?
My favourite band in the whole wide world, Alter Bridge. I absolutely adore them. Absolutely love them. They're the only band in the world that I will ever actually watch live. And so, yeah, when I was speaking to my friends a few years ago to try and figure out a internet moniker for myself, they were like, Alter Bridge, Alter Nerd. And
there we are.
There you are.
Well, I have to admit, I didn't anticipate that as an answer. So tell me about Alter Bridge. I'm not familiar with them. Might there be a song I would know?
The only one that I think you may know, two, either Blackbird or Metalingus.
Can you sing Blackbird for me?
Very poorly. I don't want to be turning off your viewers this early on in the conversation. Maybe a little bit later on.
Okay, when you've settled in and you're in your groove, perhaps we'll get a little bit of singing later on. Okay, I'll have to look them up. Are they a British band?
No, they're American. It's like a rock metal kind of band.
So you're a bit of a rock chick, really, then, yeah?
Just a little, yes.
Okay. Do you give it the old sort of, second and fifth finger salute? Let's rock and do a bit of head banging. There we are.
Oh hell yeah, yeah. But I'll never go into the mosh pit. I value my life way too much.
I recall reading about somebody who actually broke his leg in a mosh pit, and he was supported by the weight of the crowd. And it wasn't until afterwards he realized that he'd broken his leg and that he'd basically been held up by the sheer intensity of the individuals within it. So I'm a bit like you with regard to the purity of live music, because in my past I've watched a lot of bands, but these days I'll only go and watch Depeche Mode live. I won't bother with anybody else. But so how many times have you seen Alter Bridge live?
About 5-6 times now.
Right. I have to admit, I've never heard of them. Are they particularly famous?
Yes and no. They kind of straddle that line, really. Whenever they come to the UK, they're selling out stadiums. Okay. So they're well known, but they're not. It's a very strange mix.
Right. Okay. I'll have to go and look them up later on and fill that hole in my musical knowledge. Okay, so that's where the name comes from, and you're unabashedly a Yorkshire lass, presumably born and bred.
Yes.
Okay, so deep pockets, short arms, and whippet tied up beside you, and best of Yorkshire brass bands on repeat, and Ilkley Bar Tat as your ringtone. So all of those things. For those who are watching who aren't familiar with the county of Yorkshire, tell the people watching why you say it's God's county.
Oh my, it's just the sheer diversity of the environment. You could be metropolitan 1 minute and then in a cute little Yorkshire English village the next, and then up in like the mountains if you're going to go at Three Peaks, or the lovely beautiful rolling green hills. Like, there's just nothing like it in the UK. And whenever anyone comes over to UK and they're like, oh, I'm going to go to London and just go as far north as Liverpool, I'm like, dude, just go just like an hour more north and come into Yorkshire and you will not be disappointed. And yeah, the beer that we brew is like top notch. So there you go.
Is that from Massam?
Sorry, what was that, HG Tudor?
The brewery at Massam, is it their beer that you like or somebody else's?
Somebody else's.
Somebody else's. Okay.
But I don't want to say which place, because that could betray whereabouts in Yorkshire I am, and I'm extremely protective of my location.
Understood. I lived in York for a period of time. Beautiful place.
Wow, absolutely beautiful. The historic kind of aspect there is absolutely amazing. That's one of the places I do recommend people go to, is York. It's absolutely beautiful there.
Lots of good pubs as well.
Very much so. Oh yeah.
There's lots of good pubs. I used to do the Micklegate run, so for people who don't know, around York, which is a very historic city in the north of England, and the Vikings conquered it and ruled it for a period of time. So there's a wall all the way around the centre of York, which you can walk along, and the gateways are known as bars. So you have, for instance, Warmgate Bar and Micklegate Bar. And Micklegate Bar is the entrance from the south, and they have there what's known as the Micklegate Run, where there's all different pubs that you can get sloshed in. So I've done that a few times when I was younger. So beautiful city. I very much like York. It's a delightful place. I also think Beverley's beautiful as well. That's a beautiful place, more over towards the east, where the racecourse is. So,
I've never been there, but York in particular, there's a little side street there that apparently gave J.K. Rowling the inspiration for Diagon Alley.
Right. Well, that would make sense. It's got that.
It would, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you go along the Shambles, which it's sort of like if you get up early and go there at sort of 4 a.m. and there's nobody else around, it's very atmospheric. And of course, you've got the buildings leaning in, where you could imagine in medieval times somebody opening the window and you could shake hands with the person opposite you, and then throw out the contents of your urine onto somebody's head beneath you, and so forth. So, yeah, York is a beautiful city. Now, you've got quite a lot of videos, Steph, about Harry and this one's wife. And what prompted you to cover them to the extent that you do?
I just feel extremely strong about the way that they are dealing not only with the royal family, but with the British public as well. I can't stand it, and I won't stand for it either. And, you know, back in the day, it was extremely precarious to actually publicly criticize them. You still do, but, you know, to a very strong effect, you know, you got labeled racist, misogynistic, you know, you had the sugars that would come after you trying to shut down your channel, this, that, and the other. And in the face of all of that, it was like, no, the absolute bullies, and I want to stand it up against them and stand up for what's right. And as far as I'm concerned, broadcast the truth of the situation, that how Meghan and Hazza are trying to spin this story, as far as I'm concerned, isn't true, and that there is another perspective, another opinion about it, and people should hear about it. So, yeah, that's how I kind of started kind of going down the rabbit hole of Hazza and Megxie. And I've always said this, that when they attack the royal family, not only are they attacking the royal family, but they are attacking the British public as well, because the royal family is part of our British identity and our British culture. And so to attack that, again, I can't stand for that either. So I'm going to stand up and defend us, our British culture, our British identity, and do my bit for the defence of it all.
Fair comment. It's interesting when I speak to people in these various conversations to find what their motivating factors are for talking about this one's wife and Harry, and it ranges from disgust at what was viewed as elder abuse, sick and tired of being subjected to their lies, and in your sense, it's a defense of patriotism, that your behavior is an attack on my monarchy, my country. So that is understandable. When did you think there was something off about this one's wife? When she first came on your radar, did you see it straight away, or were you aware of her for a while and thought, oh yeah, this looks okay, and then hang on a second, something's not right here? Tell me your thoughts about that.
It was when she was in South Africa, and she was speaking to Tom Bradbury, and he was like, "How are you doing?" And she starts to kind of like tear up a little bit, and she makes that response of, no one's asked me that, this, that, and the other. And I'm there thinking, what? Why are you upset? Why are you why are you trying to play a victim all of a sudden? It made no sense. And then when the whole kind of situation with baby Archie, that really started to like ring alarm bells to me, because we didn't know which hospital Archie was being born in. We didn't see baby Archie until like a week later. I mean, generally speaking, when raw babies are born, especially high up in the line of succession, like the day after, they come out on the steps and present to the world the newborn and this, that, and the other. And they had this very kind of like thing of not letting us in, which that was the bit where to me I was like, okay, something's definitely wrong at this point with Meghan, because this isn't how we do things in the royal family. And as taxpayers, we contribute to the royal family, and therefore, as a result, the royal family will let us in on certain family moments, such as newborn moments. And when Megxie and Hazza weren't doing that, that to me then solidified. I'm like, yeah, something's wrong with Megxie here. She's not slotting in. She's not following royal protocol. What the hell is going on?
Do you believe that you have an entitlement to a degree of access as a taxpayer then?
Yes. As every taxpayer should. Part of our taxes goes towards the royal family. Therefore, we are entitled to have access to the royal family to a certain extent, of course, as it has been over the decades. What Meghan tried to do, as far as I'm concerned, was try and change that and still take taxpayer money. And it's like, no, don't bite the hand that feeds. It doesn't work, ever.
Sure. Why do you think she responded in that way?
Because she, and this is all alleged, opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, she wants ultimate control. Yeah. Over everything. That's over right. Every aspect, which would speak to her alleged narcissism.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. You hold her accountable by saying, because my taxes go towards your upkeep, therefore I believe that I have some form of access to you, or that you should have a degree of accountability to me. That threatens her inherent and latent need for control, and so she'll rail against it.
Yeah.
She doesn't process it as, oh, you're a taxpayer, therefore you feel like you should have a slice of me, and that offends my need for control. It's not that blatant. It's in the subconscious. But that's when you unpick it, that's what's actually going on.
Yeah.
So if you believe that you have a right to scrutinize, a right for her to be held to account for her behavior, or even a right to say, well, once in a lifetime, I should be able to sit down and have tea and scones with you. Whatever that, where you're asserting a right or an obligation in relation to her, it offends her need for control. And so her narcissism steps in and says, you're not allowed to do that. And hence we've seen what has happened.
Correct.
When you talk about them, Steph, when you create your videos, do you notice that there are particular topics or themes that get a lot more attention than others? You know, the views surge when you talk about that particular thing?
Yeah, so quite a number of topics, really. The children.
Yep.
That's definite one. But that's because there's so much mystery behind them. We've not seen them much. We don't know much about them. So that kind of mystery fosters even more curiosity. So whenever there's a video about them, that's that. Others discussing titles, if their titles are going to be removed, is another big topic in the community. Another big topic in the community is, Prince William and King Charles, looking at taking action against them. I just did a video yesterday, 2 videos actually. One where allegedly King Charles and Prince William are discussing the option of taking the titles away, and another one where, you know, Prince William and Princess Catherine are joining forces to take action against Harry and Meghan in a certain way. And so videos about essentially the royal family fighting back and taking action against them seems to be another big topic in the community at the moment. Another one that's,
I understand.
Yeah. Another one that I think slightly has died down to a certain extent, which is good, is Princess Catherine herself, and what she's going through at the moment. But yeah, they're just a few from the top of my head.
Absolutely. Returning to the issue of the titles, do you think that if they are removed, that will just prompt martyrdom on the part of the Sussexes? See how they're bullying us, they've taken the titles away, or do you think it should still be done notwithstanding that potential risk?
Oh, it should be done notwithstanding that potential risk. And of course, they're going to scream martyrdom and, oh, we're the victims, this, that, and the other. As far as I'm concerned, of course, they're going to do that. But no one's going to take notice, I don't think. Or the majority, I believe, will not take notice. Based
why
on
should the
polls,
titles be? Why should the titles be taken away?
The titles should be taken away because, as far as I'm concerned, at this point, they've broken the Sandringham Agreement. They're not supposed to use the titles for commercial gain. But as far as I'm concerned, they have done. You've got Meghan with American Riviera Orchard, where on Instagram, it's literally by Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. That shouldn't be there, as far as I'm concerned, based on the agreement as per my interpretation of it. Then you've got Sussex.com, the website there, where it's all Duke and Duchess of Sussex. You've got the royal insignia, their coat of arms, this, that, and the other. And that website is also promoting Archwell Productions. So that website is also a commercial venture. And when they're using their titles on a website that's also promoting their commercial venture, again, my interpretation of the Sandringham Agreement dictates that, yeah, they're using their titles for commercial gain and they've broken that agreement. So it should be taken away.
Do you also think as well, it's the case of you're in the United States and therefore what link have you got to Sussex, for example? Almost that Sussex could cry out, what on earth have you ever done for us?
Could do, but I don't think of it that way.
No.
I think of it of, you know, the monarch gave, which Queen Elizabeth II at the time, gave these titles as a wedding present. Okay, fair enough, right? That's that. To me, it's not about the link per se to Sussex. It's about, okay, what are they doing to honour the royal family, uphold the monarch, and follow through with their service towards the United Kingdom?
It clearly strikes.
All three is naff all, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure. It clearly strikes a chord with you, and understandably so. If they happen to be the Duke and Duchess of York, if by some quirk of fate those were the titles afforded to them, do you think that would have occasioned Stef the Alter Nerd to go to war if they'd shat on Yorkshire in that way? Would that motivate you all the more that, you know, God's county, as you see it, has been offended with having these two idiots assigned to it?
You two morons. I'd just be the same as I am now.
Yeah.
I feel just as strongly with them having the Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles as I would do if they had the Duke and Duchess of York titles.
Yeah.
I'd feel exactly the same way.
Okay.
And the way I see it as well is those titles is a source of power for Hazza and Megzi.
Yeah.
And they're able to use it to reestablish their link officially to the royal family, which gives them power monetarily, but also socially as well within Hollywood. And if you take that away, you're taking big, massive power source away from them.
It is interesting, isn't it, that where she stated in the past she had no real interest in a title, how she wheels it out at every opportunity whenever she makes a boring speech and sends glass eyes to sleep. We see this one's wife, Duchess of Sussex, up there behind her, and it's used on the website and it's used in her correspondence, etc. Like many narcissists, having a title is manna from heaven for her, because she can triangulate people with it, because it's basically saying, I'm more important than you, which
Yes.
of course is the prevailing mindset of a narcissist. It's also, of course, something which creates a banner behind which her dwindling band of supporters can rally the idea of, they talk about her being Princess This One's wife, because they don't fully understand the use of the titles and so forth. And they make reference to her as being our queen, spelled Kween. Yeah, exactly. Careful there, you might experience an eye roll injury, Steph. Watch what you're doing.
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with those dimwit followers of theirs, which are known as the Sussex Squad, which is the polite description rather for them, have you had any problems with this group of people as a consequence of your output and your criticisms of them?
Of course. Of
Okay.
course. Yes.
Can you expand on that for me?
Absolutely. So I knew it was only a matter of time. Anyone that enters, this community, you do eventually get, the eyes of the Sussex Squad, or the sugars, or as I call them, the morons, upon you, and they'll descend. So it's kind of like a trial by fire situation. You got to go through fire with them. But last year I went to LA in September, and about a month beforehand, me and a friend of mine, who's like a big brother to me, Andy Signov on Popcorn Planet. He also has a channel called Popcorn Palace.
Yes.
And we'd spoken to one of our lawyer friends like the night before this stream, and we were like, whilst I'm in LA, if Andy came over, where do we stand legally of doing like a tour of Montecito and going to like, the places of, that we know Megsy and Hazza have gone to, this, that, and the other. And we got legal advice on it. And what came back was, no, we can go as long as we stick to public places, we don't trespass, this, that, and the other, then you're absolutely fine. So the day after, on stream, we then joke about it. We're like, might go to Montecito, do like the worldwide privacy tour, this, that, and the other. And we start joking about it at this point. But the sugars then catch wind. And then they start accusing us of harassment, cyber stalking, bullying, basically everything that they do. But they're telling us that we're doing it. And I'm thinking, look in the mirror. And I was thinking that even more when I started getting threats of harm and death threats. Andy didn't get the death threats, but I did. And so what I did, because this wasn't our first rodeo of actually facing an internet mob. We faced the Amber Turds. We faced the Snyder Cult. So this wasn't our first rodeo. And Andy and I just started laughing at it all because it was absolutely hilarious, the reaction that we were getting. And we started to monetize the morons. So for me, particularly, every single day I would do a video on the Sussex Squad and, what they have done to bully and cyber harass other people. And then at the weekend, I would do a live stream showing all their threats of harm and death threats and completely turn it around and be like, if you think threatening me and sending death threats is going to make me cower and make me silent and afraid to speak out and criticize Hazza and Megsy, you're dealing with a different animal here. I don't think so. If anything, it's going to make me open my gob even more, monetize you morons, and expose all your messages and make even more content. And so that's what I did. They soon stopped.
A good way of dealing with it. It's interesting you mentioned about them stopping. As you may know, I do an occasional series, Let's All Laugh at the Sugars, where I screenshot the moronic comments that they leave on YouTube. They never, ever send any email. My email address that I use for all of this is, it's out there. It's open. Anybody can email me. And I must admit, I get some weirdos that do email me from time to time, which one day I'll probably write about because it's quite interesting, but that's a separate topic. The Sugars never, ever email me, and they do occasionally comment. So I screenshot that and periodically bundle them together and take the piss out of them, similar in the way that you have done. And I've noticed there aren't a huge amount that come to my channel in the first place. And as I regularly explain, that's because I use words with more than one syllable quite often. So they're evidently confused. But it's dropped off considerably. And I think part of it is that with some of them, it's because they recognize they won't get anywhere, that they're not given any publicity because I just screenshot and then delete their comment. I'm not going to give them the oxygen of publicity by remaining there. I'll just highlight their comment in a video and laugh at them. And moreover, it seems to me that the bot activity, because many of them you can see are bots, I've seen a downturn in that as of late. And one wonders, is that because the relevant individuals that orchestrate that aren't being paid in the way that they once were? Is there not the money available to do all of that? The propaganda machine isn't being fueled in the way that it once was. But I've noticed a significant downturn, although their presence wasn't significant. And I just normally get called a racist and things like that, which, you know, as I regularly explain, I have no prejudices. I hate everybody equally. So consequently, it's not an issue for me. And they trot out the well-worn phrases, which are ridiculous. So you received actual death threats, though. Were you minded to involve Her Majesty's Finest, the local constabulary, or His Majesty's Finest?
Yeah. So the death threats were real. I've showed them on my streams.
Yep.
And so I did call the police, His Majesty's Finest.
Yep.
And made them aware of the situation. Case number was opened, and I kept them apprised and updated. I don't care. This is the thing, right? For me, I've put myself in quote unquote the public eye, so to speak, or I should really say the internet eye. And so I've chosen to do this. I've chosen this as, you know, want of a better phrase, a career. Even though I don't see it as a career, I see it as a lot of fun. I'm extremely, extremely lucky and fortunate to be doing what I'm doing here. But I've chosen this, right? However, my friends, my family, people I care about and love haven't chosen to be in the internet eye.
Yeah.
And so everything that I do is to protect them rather than me in a way. Because, you know, come after me, fine. I've put myself in this position. Absolutely fair enough. Go for it. I'll just monetize your morons afterwards. However, my friends and family, people I care about, different kettle of fish. So I called the police more to protect them rather than me.
Okay. And where did all of this get to?
The sugar stopped because we saw comments, Andy and I saw comments on Twitter where they were turning around and saying, they're making money off of us, we need to stop. They actually realized, they actually had a couple of brain cells between them to realize that it was all backfiring and that we were making money off of those morons with what they were doing. And so they soon stopped.
So they backed off in that respect.
The case number's still open. It's still alive with the police, of course.
Yeah.
But I contacted them with the whole thing of, you know, more protecting my family and my friends and the people I care about.
It's interesting because your experience there is demonstrative of taking accountability for your behavior. You're saying, I put myself in the internet eye, therefore I expect that I will get some turbulence back. That's the nature of the beast.
Yes.
People will like you, people will dislike you. But if you're putting yourself in the public or internet eye, you have to be prepared that there are some people who are not going to like you. Sometimes that's justified. For example, they might not share a political view that you have. Other times it's completely founded on nonsense. People just take against you because of the color of your hair or the accent that you have or that type of thing. And of course, this one's wife, she puts herself in the public view. Therefore, it follows that you will attract support, but you will also attract criticism. But as a narcissist, she is unable to comprehend why she should be criticized. She can't process that the criticism. Some of it is baseless. A lot of it is entirely justified in relation to criticisms of her, very clearly so. But she can't process that because her narcissism, the way that her brain works, is simply telling her, you are a goddess. You are the Empress of Woke. You are the Queen of Monty Shit Show. You are a fragrant, wonderful, interesting individual. How anybody could dislike you must mean that they're a bigoted racist, i.e., they're the problem, not you. So she doesn't understand the concept of accountability by putting herself in the public eye, because her narcissism won't allow that to be the case. You understand that basis of accountability, but obviously draw the line at, okay, you can take a pot shot at me. I can deal with that. Just don't drag those that I care about into it.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, for me, if anyone wants to be on the internet, wants to do YouTube, be an influencer, whatever, right? You have to accept that not everyone is going to like you. You have to accept that there are going to be a lot of people that are going to support you, but there are going to be some people that don't like you. As long as you can accept that, go right ahead. If you can't, get out of the fire. Because it's just not going to work for you, and it's going to affect you, and you're going to break down. And so, yeah, when it comes to like the hate comments or the comments from the sugars, you do what you do. You screenshot them and then you delete them. I keep them up.
Yeah.
I keep them up because what those morons don't understand, and I say this time and time again, and they're still doing it, so something's getting lost in translation here, is that every time they leave a comment, every time they're viewing one of my videos or streams, that's a view and that's engagement that YouTube loves. So the more they do it, the more they're adding to the views and engagement, where YouTube's then turning around and thinking, well, hang on a minute, that video, that stream's doing really well because look at all these views and engagement. And so it pushes that video and stream out even more for more people to discover it and watch it.
Yeah.
So what they're trying to do in terms of like hate view and hate comments actually is helping the growth of my channel and community. So for me, it's like, do you know what, morons? Crack on. Leave as many hate comments as you want, because I ain't deleting them, because it's all engagement, it's all views, and I can use it to my advantage.
Yeah. What I find with any comments that I receive are in adverse nature, not necessarily to do with this one's wife, because as you know, my channel covers narcissism and psychopathy, so it's about other people as well. So talking about Trump or Biden gets certain people foaming at the mouth where they misunderstand what I'm talking about, and there are other topics as well. And when those come expressing that agitated view, invariably it's an opportunity for me to correct them, because they just don't understand what the point that is being made. I recognize that those individuals aren't going to change their position because they're entrenched, but it's a useful opportunity as a sort of teaching moment to basically pull their pants down and spank them in public by pointing out, you're wrong in respect of this, 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 and this. So they serve a useful purpose in that respect. You can use what they're saying and point out, well, actually, you're wrong because of these reasons. They're not going to accept being corrected, because either they know that they're wrong, but they won't admit it, or you're dealing with some individuals that come along who have that pathologically entrenched view, and it's pointless. So the purpose of correcting those people is more for other people to see it in the comment section and realize, because I find them amusing when they come along, beating their little fists at the edifice that is the ultra, desperate for the attention. And of course, in some instances, ignoring them gets them apoplectic with rage because they want to matter. They're desperate to matter. And the most effective thing to do is to not give them the response that they crave. And it really, really gets them and winds them up. Now, you've spoken about how the behavior of Harry and this one's wife sort of offends your patriotism, Steph. Who's your favorite member of the royal family?
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to be so cliche here, but I don't care. Princess Catherine.
Okay. And why is that?
Even more so now than ever, She is an absolute inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
She was very upper class, let's put it this way, but she was a commoner, right?
Yeah.
So she came from us, like our stock, our pot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And married into royal family, like second in line to the throne. And it's like, oh my goodness, like, yes, total inspiration. You can, like, whatever your circumstance in the world, you can transcend, and you can do better, and you can be better. And since she's, married into the royal family, she has served us, this country, the Commonwealth, so beautifully well. She handles herself with dignity and grace. And in the face of so much right now that she's going through health-wise, it shows like this inner quiet strength that she has that is very admirable, but also quite something that I would want to try and attain as well. I see myself a little bit in her, because I've had to deal with health issues in the past and still had to carry on and deal with life and go to work and do things, this, that, and the other. And so
Yes,
to see her do that as well, but on a next level, is inspiring and amazing.
fair comment. So, with high praise indeed for Catherine, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. What is it that annoys you so much about this one's wife, if you could sum it up?
If I could sum it up, what annoys me most about this one's wife is how she tries to demonize the royal family,
Mm-hmm.
the British public, and our culture and identity.
Okay. And what about Harry? What annoys you most about him?
That he should have freaking known better. He should have known better. Like, it's absolutely insane. What annoys me most about Harry, if I'm going to be more specific, is how he, as far as I'm concerned, turned his back on us, on his country, on his duty to us, to this country that he was born into. Turned his back on it for, as far as I'm concerned, money, fame, fortune. How's that going for you so far, Hazza?
Well, indeed. He's misery guts, isn't he? You only have to look at his face. It's a case of, if you're really having that idyllic life in California, tell your face, because it's certainly not portraying that to be the case. You mentioned earlier on that you had considered going across and sort of doing the worldwide privacy tour over at Monty Shit Show, as I call it. Did you actually go?
Oh, hell yeah. We did it in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, because with all the death threats and threats of harm that I was getting from the sugars, I went to Andy. I'm like, screw it, let's do it. Let's do it. We already had spoken to a lawyer who knows the law in that particular state in California. Yeah. And we legally got the go ahead anyway. So I was like, dude, let's just do it. So we did. And so we did, I did a video of kind of like explaining what happened when we were there, showing different artifacts that I'd collected, like local newspapers and what they were saying in there about Hazza and Megzi and the whole experience of it all. And Andy released a couple of videos, again, doing another tour of Montecito, like the worldwide privacy tour. But also as well, we did this kind of in-depth investigation of the In-N-Out burger, which In-N-Out burger does Hazza and Megzi actually go to in that area. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, it might actually be neither of them.
Right.
Yeah, because there's two in particular that they could have gone to. And both of them are like turning around and they're like, yeah, they don't come here.
But they went to another one further away, presumably, so where it could be staged. Did you go to their property?
No.
Okay. Why not?
Because to me, that is crossing a line.
Okay.
It's as if someone was going to come to my property. No. That's crossing a line. It's uninvited. To me, it's morally reprehensible and completely wrong. We stuck to public areas, which was, more the centre of Montecito. So we went to the Montecito kind of like market area. We went to Trey Loon, had a meal there, had a wonderful minestrone soup. It was absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, we stuck to the centre of Montecito, went nowhere near their house. No way.
So you weren't tempted to buy a burner phone and lob it over the wall for Harry to ring to say, come and free me, Steph. Get me out of here.
Oh yes. I'm a narcissist prisoner. Get me out of here.
Precisely. Yeah.
If anyone gets that reference, Extra Nerd points to you guys. But no, I was not tempted whatsoever in any way, shape, or form to go anywhere near their property. It's just, again, morally reprehensible, completely wrong. Just no. There was no reason.
Was there no temptation to think, just to obviously you stand outside at the gates or from a distance to see what the comings and goings were? Because there's so many people that talk about they don't believe that they actually live there, or that they don't actually live there together, in relation to appearances of who's going there, who's coming out of the property. You could be on the street without causing a problem. You weren't tempted?
No.
Fair enough.
Because again, it's kind of like the same argument, but reversed. I wouldn't want anyone to come anywhere near my property uninvited. And if I didn't know them at all, I wouldn't like that. So, I try and treat people as I would like to be treated. And for better or for worse, Hazza and Megzy are still people. So
certainly, albeit it could be argued, couldn't it, that Stef the Alter Nerd hasn't been creating world headlines by besmirching her family and leeching off other people and telling porky pies for the purposes of making money. So I think that there is a public interest argument, is there not, to hold them to account and to learn more about what's really going on?
There is, but without physically invading their privacy, which to me interprets as literally rocking up to their gates and knocking on their front door.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt you'd be able to get to the front door. I think obviously there's security that would ask, what do you want here? Presumably as well, if they notice anybody hanging around, just to see the comings and goings. For instance, is there a delivery of the green stuff for Harry? Is there an extra a delivery of crayons and building blocks for Harry? What's the comings and goings, to see that if there was anybody waiting around, I think they would presumably call the local sheriff and have you moved on, I'd imagine. But it'd be interesting to see if someone would attempt to do that, to see what they could find out, to determine whether these rumors about nobody living there, or is there somebody there, are accurate or not.
Now, well, know that one of the sugars did actually go.
Okay.
They put it on Twitter last year, before we even joked about going and doing it. Jojo Diva on Twitter actually went and took pictures and did the whole Montecito kind of worldwide privacy tour, but like the Sugars version. And to the point where they, I'm going to say allegedly here, took a picture of the front gates of where Hazza and Megzy apparently reside. So the Sugars have already done it.
What did that reveal? Just a set of gates?
Yeah. It was just like, if I remember rightly, it was just like on a kind of like a main street or a little road or something, and then to the corner there were like these gates, and she was like, oh.
Yeah, so there weren't any.
Megsy's home.
There weren't any chickens authenticity clucking around.
No. None
Wasn't
of
a banana of empowerment wedged in the gateway.
No bananas, no
None
chickens,
no
okay. Children either. No gingers that could be identified through the gates. No, none of that.
None of that. In relation to her behaviour, and obviously it's caused offence to you vis-a-vis way that she's treated the United Kingdom and the monarchy. Have you always appreciated that it's narcissism that's driven her behavior, or did you think it was down to something else?
I don't think narcissism is the sole motivator as to what she's doing and what she's done against the royal family and the United Kingdom. I think that it's a mixture of that, ambition, greed, stupidity. And I say stupidity because she keeps trying to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and is getting the same result, which is it's failing every single time, whatever she's trying to do. And
where do you think that stupidity comes from?
Sorry, what's that?
Where do you think that stupidity, that repeated action, what do you think's driving that?
I think what's driving that is just pure ego of, I know better and it will work in the end. I know better and it will work in the end. We know from reports that Sunshine Sachs, for example, her previous PR agency, dropped her not only because of allegedly she wasn't paying them, there was an outstanding bill, but, you know, they were sick and tired of trying to provide her with advice and her not listening to that.
Yeah.
It seems like we're getting the same kind of reports as well now from the current agency, WME, William Morris Endeavour, and Ari Emanuel. And so, yeah, I think it's like obviously partly to do with the narcissism, but just ego as well, thinking that she knows better.
Well, her ego is inextricably wrapped up in the narcissism. Her narcissism governs everything that she does with other human beings. So when you talk about her greed, her narcissism is behind that, because the accumulation of wealth is what's known as a residual benefit. Because by being wealthy, she can then control more people, control the narrative through PR puff pieces. She can buy expensive clothing that makes people react, so it gives her fuel. So the acquisition of wealth is actually driven by her narcissism. The stupidity that you witness is driven by her narcissism, because her narcissism doesn't learn that if she does A, it fails. She will then compartmentalize. It's almost like a robot that has its memory wiped and then tries and does the same thing again, fails, has the memory wiped, does the same thing and tries again. So it all actually does come back to her narcissism, because when it comes to her interactions with other people, her narcissism is the sole driving thing. It manifests as greed, it manifests as stupidity, it manifests as ego, but that's the beating heart of her behavior. So when she sits down and pours herself a drink of water and there's nobody else around, that's not her narcissism. She's just thirsty, so she has a drink. But if Harry comes in from running around outside in his underpants, and he's thirsty, and she gives him a drink, that's her narcissism governing her, giving him a drink to control Harry by being nice to him. It isn't her being intrinsically kind. She isn't intrinsically kind. No narcissist is. So she gives him that drink to control him and get a response out of him, which gives her fuel. If she stood there and glugged all of the drink in front of him, so he burst into tears because poor Hazard's thirsty and Mama has drunk his drink, then in such circumstances, that's also her narcissism being used in a malign way to control him. So it's behind everything that she does. And that's why I talk about that so much, because so many times people go, well, why does she do this? And why can't she see this? And why is she preoccupied with this? And if you understand that it's the narcissism that's behind it, it really does give you all of the answers as to why she behaves as she does. It's not to make an excuse for her. That's what drives. You're driven by emotional empathy. You exhibited it before. I'm not going to go to their property. I view that as treading over a line. So you, even though you might not like them, you still have emotional empathy. You said they're still human beings. So your decision-making process is governed by emotional empathy. She doesn't have any. Her decision-making process is governed by the pursuit of the prime aims, which is, how do I control people? How do I get fuel out of them? Character traits and residual benefits. So she has a different driving force to you. So that's why she does as she does.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Have you had any personal experience of narcissism with anybody?
Yes.
Are you minded to talk about it?
The only thing I'll say is that you only recognize it. Well, I say you only recognize it. I recognized it when it was too late.
Yes, well, that's often the case.
But I am thankful and grateful for the experience because I learned from it. And I can now at least recognize some traits and some warning signs of it from my past and previous experience of it.
Okay. Useful that you've learned from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. That kind of person ain't coming into my life again.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's the right way to deal with it. Good for you. What's your favorite nickname for this one's wife?
The one that I give her, Megsy.
Megsy. Okay. And for Harry?
Hazza.
Hazza. Now, you're clearly a lady of imagination, Steph. That much is apparent. So I want you to harness that fertile imagination and picture it's the end of the day. The sun has set, it's dipping below the horizon, the crickets are chirping, and it's bedtime at Monty Shit Show. What do you think is the bedtime routine of Megsy and Hazza?
The nanny's dealing with Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. Megsy furiously on her phone using a dummy Twitter account to check what people are saying about her and
bit of rage scrolling.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And has her partaken in some green or something along those lines with a pint, trying to escape the reality of his situation. A pretty conspiracy theory, whatever.
Yep,
I know. That's kind of what I see happening.
Yeah, that sounds eminently imaginable. Now let's step into an alternate universe. There you are in Yorkshire, and for some unknown reason, you've been lumbered with this one's wife for the day. Where in Yorkshire would you take her?
Firstly, I'm filming it all for content.
You can do that. You can fill your boots on content, Steph. That's not a prohibition.
Okay, so where would I take her in Yorkshire?
Yeah.
So I would take her to, well, firstly, York is the main place to take her to. I would take her also to Haworth, which is a World Heritage Site. Where else would I take her? Oh my goodness, you're really putting me on the spot. Somewhere that's really, really nice to, I suppose, go shopping, like Leeds. Take her there, because there's some really, really nice places to go there.
That's fair enough. Yeah. That would pretty much fill the day. So you wouldn't be minded, for instance, to take her to Flamingo Land and strap her to a roller coaster all day?
Do you know what? Flamingo Land, there's no real proper roller coasters there anymore.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's definitely more of a zoo situation now rather than actual any white knuckle rides.
In that case, if it's more of a zoo situation, you could perhaps take her to the monkey house, pop her in there and have the chimpanzees fling shit at her all day.
True. However, my suggestions were there for a purpose, to elicit conversation with her, to interview her and get her to open up. If I take her to Flamingo Land and just let the monkeys fling shiz at her, funny, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather try and want to talk to her and get more out of her.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask you later on if there was one thing you could say to her, what would it be? But given that your modus operandi there is to show off the best of Yorkshire whilst trying to get information out of her. So whilst you're taking her around York and taking her to Betty's tea room and you're
Yes!
showing her on the walls, yeah, and you're going up to the Minster, and then you're deciding we'll go up to Haworth and the birthplace of the Brontes.
Yeah.
What would you be looking to get out of her? What would you say to her?
I'd be trying to get out of her at least even like the tiniest modicum of remorse as to how she's dealt with the whole situation against the British public and the royal family, to try and see if she could understand from the other side of things how her actions and how her words have affected us and what it's done to us. Would that ever happen? I don't think so. I think her narcissism is so well in built and so well established that she will never be able to see that.
Correct.
But to at least try is better than to not try at all. Other than that, I would want to get her opinions on all the conspiracy theories out there. So people that think that she allegedly pays the sugars in some way, shape or form, or whether Archie and Lilibet actually exist, or, you know, her pregnancies, whether they actually existed, like, you know, get her thoughts on all of that.
Yeah, so you spend the day basically showing around whilst cross-examining her about these various topics. A good ploy. You might not get truthful answers, but I suppose what you would get, and you create a lot of content, people could make their own minds up as to whether they accepted the answers that she gave, whether her, you know, you would see the jutting jaw and the veins bulging and the batting of the eyelids through the anxiety as you scrutinize her, because that naturally is something that has never happened and probably never will happen, because her narcissism will never ever let her submit to that kind of forensic examination by anybody. Whenever she does an interview, it's the questions that she wants. It's soft soap every single time, and her narcissism will never allow her to get in front of someone who will ask her those key questions, unfortunately. But you never know. Bit of Yorkshire charm from you, and the temptation of York and Haworth and Leeds might just appeal to her. So maybe you have to work on that.
Yeah, maybe I do. The thing is, though, don't like really discount what she says, because even though a lot of it we take as lies, a manipulation of the truth or whatever, from a linguistic analysis perspective, it's extremely telling what she doesn't say, what she leaves out. Okay. And so all of what she says, all of her answers, there is actually an element of truth in it all. It's just not, how do I put this? It's just not the truth that she wants out there.
Well, it's true to her. What she says is the truth she believes, because her narcissism causes her to believe that what she's telling is the truth. But then you're able to scrutinize that as against the other material and basically present it to people to say, this is what she answered, this is what she didn't say, this is what we know. You make your own mind up as to whether you think her answer is acceptable or not. Yeah. You're not going to get her suddenly, you know, a la some dramatic court breakdown of suddenly go, oh, you're right, I was never pregnant, and yeah, I glued that girl's eyelids shut, and I've been married 17 times, and all this type of stuff. That will never happen. You'll just have to either find the evidence elsewhere and then put it to her and then point out that her response was entirely unconvincing. And as you say, in some instances, point to what she didn't say in response to it as well, tells its own story. Interesting. There'd be a fantastic show if you were able to pull that off.
I have done a couple of videos on linguistic analysis from time to time. I'm not like an expert on it, don't get me wrong, but I do know just a little bit from the degree that I did back in the day. So
would that take into account, however, dealing with somebody that's personality disordered, because their perception of reality and why they speak as they do is different? I often make this point in relation to body language analysis, that many people that analyze body language fail to take into account that they're analyzing a narcissist, and therefore the narcissist doesn't respond in the same way as a non-narcissist does. And so often, for instance, there's a lady who speaks in the Daily Mirror. They often go to her, I forget her name, And she gets it so hopelessly wrong because she doesn't understand that this one's wife's a narcissist. She interprets her behaviors through the lens of something else which isn't applicable. So I wonder if that would also be the case in relation to the linguistics as well.
For me, no. For me, it's like when she was, at the Invictus Games last year, and she arrived like 3-4 days late, and she did a speech about it. I was able to break it down and be like, look, the whole spotlight, her whole emphasis should be on the Invictus Games and the veterans, but it's not.
Yeah.
She's making sure, as far as I'm concerned, that the spotlight is still firmly on her. And by analysing the words, the syntax, her phrases as to what she used, this is why to support my hypothesis, which, proves even furthermore her alleged narcissism. So,
well, what you're doing there is you are actually interpreting her linguistic responses through the lens of her narcissism, because you've identified that it's not about Invictus, it's about her. So although you're not expressly stating that, you are in actual fact taking into account her narcissism by the very fact you're saying this is all interpreted through it being about her. So you are taking that into account. Yeah.
Yeah, and how can you not? At the end of the day, whatever your mindset is dictates how you communicate, what words you use, what phrases you use.
Mm-hmm.
And so her narcissism, as far as I'm concerned, goes hand in hand with the way that she communicates and how she conducts herself. How can it not?
Yeah, absolutely the case. If this one's wife was getting into the shower at the end of the day, what's the first thing that she washes?
The only thing that springs to mind is a face.
Yeah. Why a face?
Because that, to me, I would imagine, is the most important feature of a narcissist.
Okay.
I only imagine.
Interesting.
Because she's all about image and how she portrays herself.
That's right.
And I think, in my opinion, her face is the thing that she would treat the most precious.
Yeah.
And wash first. Because she wants to be the face of everything.
Yeah. Do you think she kisses the mirror?
Maybe metaphorically.
Have you seen the film Stardust?
No.
Okay, well, that ends that line of inquiry. What do you think Harry thinks about when he's on the toilet?
I think at the moment, all the pressure that's on them both to try and perform for their contracts, in particular Netflix.
Think he's getting to him?
Yes. I definitely think it's getting to him. I think the stress is getting to him. I think the pressure's getting to him. And I think that's causing problems between Hazza and Megzi, because and I did a video on this, when you look at the ESPY's appearance from last weekend, you see that Megzi puts her hand on his knee, but there's no reciprocal contact of touch from Hazza to Megzi.
Yeah.
It's all one-sided. I mean, right at the beginning, they were all handsy, holding hands, being very tactile with each other, in the realms of being royal, of course.
Yeah.
But last weekend, we didn't see that at all. So I see there that there is a big, massive physical divide between them both. And I think the pressure is getting to them. So when he's on the toilet, when he's on the bog, I think he's thinking of the pressure of his new series about polo to perform, when his last one on Heart and Victor's completely bombed.
Yeah.
And I also think he's also feeling the pressure when it comes to Megzi's projects as well, hoping that they perform and that they don't fail, because money's running out. They're not getting any more big contracts. The contracts that they do have, they're Always gossip that they're on the verge that they're going to be dropped, especially the Netflix one. And so, yeah, there's only so much their current finances will take them before they have to potentially look at downsizing from Monty Shit's show.
Mm. So whilst Harry's taking a shit, he's contemplating how it's all gone to shit.
Pretty much, yeah.
There we are. That neatly sums that up. Now, what do you think this one's wife and Harry's agenda is, if they have one? What's their overarching aim?
The overarching aim is twofold.
Mm-hmm.
To control public perception and opinion.
Yes.
With the aim then to break it in Hollywood and become multi-billionaires and big Hollywood powerhouses.
Okay. Thank you for that observation. Certainly got force in it. All that remains now, Steph, is for a game of this or that, where I present you with certain choices. There is a metaphorical gun held to your head, so you can't decline and go neither. You have to make a choice.
Okay.
So when you're ready, away we go. Fruit or veg?
Fruit.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Text message or telephone call?
Text message.
Laptop or tablet?
Oh, sorry. Did you say laptop or tablet?
I did.
Oh, laptop.
Driver or passenger?
Passenger.
Sapphire or ruby?
Sapphire.
Soft or hard?
Soft.
Dusk or dawn?
Dusk.
Unicorn or dragon?
Dragon.
Fresh linen or fresh coffee?
Fresh linen.
James Bond or Jason Bourne?
James Bond.
Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
Jam or marmalade?
Jam.
Elf or dwarf?
Elf.
Roses or lilies?
Roses.
Christian Bale or Hugh Jackman?
Christian Bale.
Spring or autumn?
Spring.
Wizard or warrior?
Warrior.
Mountain or beach?
Beach.
Wasps or bees?
Bees.
Sparkling or still?
Still.
Frasier or Seinfeld?
I'm not really familiar with either of them. I suppose Frasier.
Okay. Homer or Bart?
Bart.
Spending the afternoon with Oprah or an evening with Ellen DeGeneres?
Oprah.
Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
The book or the film adaptation?
Book.
Fred Truman or Jeffrey Boycott?
Truman.
Yorkshire pudding or Wensleydale cheese?
Yorkshire pudding.
Charlotte Bronte or Emily Bronte?
Charlotte.
The Rocket or Salamanca?
Rocket.
Guy Fawkes or William Wilberforce?
Guy Fawkes.
Jelly Tots or a Yorkie bar?
Yorkie bar.
Judi Dench or Sean Bean?
Oh, Sean Bean.
Sean Bean. Prince William or Loose Cannon Louis?
Prince William.
Sophie or Princess Anne?
Princess Anne.
Harry or this one's wife?
Hazard.
This one's wife or Prince Andrew?
Prince Andrew.
Spending the day with this one's wife doing what she wants? Or if you can't stomach that, no more videos about this one's wife ever again.
Oh, spending the day doing what she wants.
Very good. Stef the Alter Nerd, thank you very much for joining me in conversation. Thank you for your time and look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Yes, thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. Hope we do it again.
Absolutely.